April 19th meeting of the Norwalk Traffic Commission. We have a quorum. We have Commissioner Kelly Stranidi and Mayor Rilling present. Pleasant. All right.
You're pleasant too, Mr. Mayor.
First item on the agenda, hold on a minute. Approve, the first item on the agenda is public participation. Mr. Manzi, do we have anybody that wishes to address the traffic authority?
Hey, Mayor, this is Jeff filling in for Larry.
Okay,
It looks like we have one hand up, Nancy Rosette. I'll allow her in. Nancy, can you
Okay.
hear us?
okay.
Yes, my name is Nancy Rosette. I live at 399 Main Avenue, and I chair the Bike Walk Commission here in Norwalk. And I would like to speak in favor of 3 items on your agenda today. The first is item number 3, which recommends lowering the speed limit on Washington Street. And the commission is generally in favor of lowering speed limits wherever possible because it makes our roads safer for all users, pedestrians, bicyclists, and motorists, because it reduces the incidence of accidents. And when accidents unfortunately do occur, the injuries are generally less severe. So we are definitely in favor of item number 3. Item number 5, the state, when they redid the intersection of Strawberry Hill Avenue and Westport Avenue, changed from a left turn only and a right straight through lane to a left turn and straight through lane and then a right turn only. And this has made that intersection more dangerous for northbound bicyclists on Strawberry Hill. So we are very much in favor of returning the configuration of that intersection to its previous configuration. And lastly, number 7, I seem to be specializing in odd numbered items today, to approve the installation of bike lanes and sharrows under a Connecticut DOT Community Connectivity Grant, as shown on the attached plans. We've been a commission for almost 4 years now, 3.5 years. And this project actually was started when we were back as a task force. And what had happened at that time, since as a task force we had no budget, it was somewhat challenging to install bicycle lanes and sharrows. So what we did is we piggybacked on projects that were already ongoing at DPW, which gave us a lot of disconnected bicycle facilities around the city. So we started working then with DPW, and now that TMP is in existence, with TMP to create a continuous east-west route for bicyclists through the city, as well as a continuous north-south route. And we very much thank TMP for all the hard work they've done with the state to make this almost a reality. So we hope you will support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rosette. Is there anybody else that wishes to address the traffic authority?
I'm not seeing anyone else with a hand up.
Okay, so we will move on from public participation. First item of business is the approval of the minutes of the traffic authority meeting of Monday, March 15th, 2021. Do I have a motion?
Yep, I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Okay, are there any corrections, deletions, omissions,
I don't,
additions? Okay, seeing none. All in favor of approving the minutes as submitted?
aye.
Aye, motion carries. Next item on the agenda, approve the route closure plan for the Norwalk Memorial Day Parade to be held Monday, May 31st, 2021. Do I have a motion to move that for discussion?
I'll move that item for discussion.
Thank you. Now, as all the events that are being proposed for the very near future, the applicants have been made aware of the fact that we may very well have to cancel the events based on the situation regarding COVID-19, the pandemic, et cetera. This is one that may very well have to be canceled because of the large number of people that would normally attend the parade. And it could become a super spreader event because we're still in the process of vaccinating people, although we're doing a good job. So I just wanted to mention that and then recommend that for the ease of facilitating the application, we should probably approve it with that cautionary note. So Ms. Straniti or Commissioner Straniti moved it. And I guess the motion would say that there would be a possibility. This is being moved tentative to the possibility of being able to conduct the parade.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. When do you think that we'll know by? Because we know a lot of planning goes into this and everything.
Yeah, it'll be very soon. I know that I have a call into Jeff DeWitt, and I'll have to speak with Chris Torrey to determine how we're going to move forward.
Okay, that sounds exciting. Has there been talk about having it like a smaller scale or anything, or just gonna try to move forward as normal if we are able to, or?
Well, I don't think the problem is the parade participants. I think the problem is more of the crowds that gather to watch the parade.
Right. Yeah.
You know, generally we have thousands of people lining the parade route all the way from the park, all the way, and then you get to the area of East Avenue and Cemetery Street, and it's just so crowded with people, and then all the way down, and then when we get down to the area of Sunset Hill and East Avenue, it's the same thing, just thousands of people together. So we're going to be having that conversation within the next couple of days.
Okay, sounds good to me.
So all in favor of Commissioner Straniti's motion as moved, that the approval is contingent upon the being able to determine if the parade can be conducted safely.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the motion carries. Next item on the agenda, recommended lowering the speed limit on Washington Street from Flax Hill Road to Water Street from 30 miles an hour to 35 miles an hour, to 25 miles an hour to the Office of the State Traffic Authority for approval. Can I get a motion to move that for discussion?
Yeah, I'll move the item, Mr. Mayor, for discussion.
Well, you're going to be moving everything tonight.
I know, I was thinking this is gonna be a busy meeting for me, like last meeting.
So the motion has been made. Who's going to speak on this?
Hi, Mayor. It's Jim Travers. How are you?
Good, Jim. How are you?
Great. So this is, this will hopefully just be the beginning of many that we put in front of you as we start to analyze roads and make sure that we have the right size road, the right and behaving thing. In this one, so Norwalk currently operates many of the roads under a blanket permit. So we have a blanket 30-mile-an-hour permit. Those blanket permits are no longer issued by the Connecticut Department of Transportation. Rather, they require each of the individual roads to be submitted to them for review. We don't believe that this will be an issue from them since the 85th percentile speed is well below the 25 miles an hour as it exists now. But we think that we should be sending a note to our traveling public of respectful roads on the street. So I would look forward for the authorities' approval of this and as we advance further in the next coming months.
Okay, questions? Any comments from the police department? Okay, so I'm sorry?
I do not.
Okay, so is that the chief on the phone? Okay. So I imagine that a letter would have to be drafted for my signature. Is that correct?
So it'll go from the LTA. So it'll just, it doesn't need to be drafted from your signature. We're just looking for your concurrence. This letter is what will go submitted to this letter that I submitted there will be the letter that goes to OSTA for review.
Okay, very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So motion carries. Next item on the agenda, approve the removal of all traffic-related signage on the south side of Washington Street from South Main Street to Water Street for the remaining duration of the parking space closures. Can we get a motion to move that?
I'll move the item.
Who's going to speak on that?
I'll be speaking, Mayor.
Garrett,
Good
go ahead.
afternoon. So this is for the removal of city-related signage. It is for the section of Washington Boulevard between North Water Street and Water Street, and then also North and South Main Street. This section is currently closed through the use of Jersey barriers to create a pedestrian passage and to allow restaurants to use the sidewalk for on-street dining. We had several conversations with the parking authority, and we recommended to them the removal of on-street meters and parking-related signage hourly restrictions to improve the aesthetics and to improve the on-street dining on that roadway. The parking authority unanimously approved the removing of those meters and signage, and this is just simply to clean up the remaining signage on the street, which is no longer applicable. It includes street sweeping signage, street vendor signage, emergency snow route signage, and we're just looking to simply take it down as it's not applicable as long as the Jersey barriers are up.
Is that for the meters? Is it just the head of the meter or the pole and everything?
So the head and the poles for the meters were taken out to allow more space for them to put out their on-street dining and patios.
Is that going to create a significant problem when we go to reinstall them, or will they be reinstalled? Would it be easier to reinstall them, or are we going to cover it over with not asphalt, but concrete or something, or how are we going to work that?
Yeah, it won't be a problem. It will make sure that it's not a safety hazard in the interim. And at the end of the project, when the barriers are removed and access is given back to the restaurants, we would reinstall that.
It'll be the pole will just be flush for now, Mayor, and then we'll be able to reuse that same base to attach it for its permanent residency with it coming back. But quite honestly, at that point in time, I would really love to look at the opportunity of rather installing the single space meters, which they're approaching their end of life. I would rather do a parking pay station and continue to remove less of the clutter that exists on the street.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then the signs itself, are the sign posts going to come down as well?
So many of the signs are actually, they're on light poles today, so it'll be very easy to remove them. And should we need to put them up in the future, it will be a pretty simple task.
Because sometimes when the sign post is removed, there's a piece that remains in the ground and sticks up about 4 or 5 inches, which can be a significant hazard.
Definitely. I believe all of those signs that we're proposing to remove are actually on the light poles, so we won't even have to touch any of the stubs for the channels.
All right. Commissioner Sterniti, any?
No, it sounds like a common sense plan.
Anything from the police department? And you've already said the traffic authority, the parking authority has agreed.
Yes, correct, at their March 24th meeting.
So all in favor of the motion as presented by Commissioner Sterniti?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Now, item number 5, request the state revise the westbound lane arrangements at the intersection of Strawberry Hill Avenue and Westport Avenue from a left and through lane and a right turn only lane to a left turn only lane and a right through lane. Now, motion to bring that to the table?
I will move that item.
And who is going to discuss this?
Mayor, it's Jim again. So in the last traffic authority meeting, you asked me to take a look at this. I know that we also got something from Senator Duff. I reviewed the future traffic volumes anticipated for this quarter. And while both lane assignments do work, and I do appreciate the efforts that was put into by the city and state staff in looking at these changes. We do see that when they were looking at 2040 numbers in the 85th percentile, we actually look like we are going to be slightly better off. It's marginally, but we do recognize the issue coming from our folks at the Bike and Ped Commission on the through cycling movement. So based on the fact that it will bring a little bit better relief to the intersection marginally, and we from a cycling safety perspective, we would look for the traffic authority's recommendation for me to submit the request to CONDOT to have that lane assignment return to its way it was prior to the work being done.
Okay, any questions or concerns from the commission or the chief or the?
I had a question about some people that travel that area quite a bit had suggested a left turn signal to allow the traffic to clear. Is that something that was looked at all, or?
So the signal at that location is actually not owned by the city. It is owned by the state. We can look at the recommendation for it to clear there, or to maybe do a lead or lag advance to do that. But we'll make that recommendation as well, Chief.
Because I noticed even driving up there, if somebody's turning left and they can't go, it backs up everything all the way down because it's not wide enough for 2 lanes, except for probably 3 or 4 cars there.
Well, I think that was the issue, in my observations with it as well, is that operating as with current configuration, that you weren't able to, because of this, it's how it's slightly askew. You weren't able to navigate your way around. If you're making a left, you didn't pull it further enough into the intersection to allow someone to clear to go around you. But we think we'll release some of that pressure with the new one. But you do raise a good point of having a dedicated left turn arrow, but probably an advance arrow. And we will we will most definitely make that recommendation to DOT.
Thanks.
Especially, I'm sorry, Commissioner Sterniti.
That's okay. Yeah, I was just going to say I'm very much in favor of this change, putting it back the way that it was. I mean, and I also would think that a left turn arrow would be good there as well. But in addition to safety concerns, I mean, the traffic backup there is crazy. I mean, to have it go, like anybody going straight is stuck, for who knows how many cycles. So yeah, I think we definitely would benefit by having that put back the way that it was.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think, going that way, I go that way frequently, and I see a lot of people get frustrated about the light, and they end up cutting through the Marshall's parking lot. That causes problems for some of the pedestrians. And so we really need to do something there, especially when the school's let out. Norwalk High, Nathan Hale, a lot of people go that way. So whatever we can do to improve that intersection would be greatly appreciated and welcomed. So.
All right. Well, we'll upon your approval, we'll head straight away to CONDOT for them to start working on this.
Thanks.
Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item number 6, approve the road closure plan for the Walk Bridge project. Motion to move that.
I'll move the item.
Okay, motions to move. Who's going to address that?
Mike, you have that one?
I can take this one. Thank you, Mayor. A few months ago, the traffic authority approved the road closure plan for the early breakout project. And at that meeting, the city requested that the state go out and hold a public informational meeting with the neighborhood on implementing this plan over the larger scale project. Last month, the state held that meeting and asked for responses. They didn't get any much negative feedback on it, so actually didn't receive any negative feedback on it. So what we like to do is implement that plan now for the major project that'll take over the next 4 years.
Sorry, I got an urgent phone call that I had to take. Could you just briefly touch on that again?
Oh, sure. A few months ago, the Traffic Authority approved the plan for the closure plans for the detour plans for the temporary work with the utility relocation work, with the request from the Traffic Authority to hold a public meeting with the neighborhood regarding the larger scale project. The state went and held that last month. And, based on the feedback from it, it seems favorable to carry that same plan through the larger scale project over the next 4 years. As they work to, close, as they do the Fort Point, the East Avenue and the other bridge on the project.
Okay, Commissioner Sterniti, I failed to have you move that forward for discussion.
No, I think we did,
Okay,
but I'll move it again just to be safe.
okay. Any discussion on this? Any concerns or comments from either the commission or the traffic or the TMP or the police department?
I don't have anything.
Okay, so that was rather easy. All in favor of the item as moved?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Next, next item, approve the installation of bike lanes in Sharrows under the Condot Community Connectivity Grant Programs as shown on the attached plans. Can I have a motion?
I'll move the item.
Item has been moved by Commissioner Sterniti. Who's going to present this?
Hi, Mayor. I'll be speaking to this item as well.
Okay.
So the department recently had a chance to review the design plans for the community connectivity grant. And we found a significant opportunity to replace some of the proposed sharrows throughout the project's north, south, and east-west bike corridors with dedicated conventional bike lanes. So just for everyone's knowledge, there's currently about 7.9 miles of conventional bike lanes in the city of Norwalk. And with this project, we propose to approximately double them by adding another 7.5 miles of bike lanes. On routes where we can't accommodate bike lanes, there will be sharrows to connect these segments that we're proposing. But we like the conventional bike lanes for a number of reasons. They provide a dedicated space on the side of the roadway for cyclists, and just a much higher level of comfort for our younger and older riders. And also the north-south routes, which we'll go through in a second, and the east-west routes, have a number of schools, major activity centers, and connect to the coast. So we see a lot of value to having the conventional bike lanes as part of this project. But part of the process of accommodating these 10-foot to accommodating these bike lanes on roadways was it necessitated delineating 10-foot travel lanes along the corridors. So specifically for the north-south route on Nursery Street, Ponus Avenue, Fox Run Road, Philo Street, Richards Avenue, and Rowayton, what we propose as part of this grant is to stripe consistent 10-foot travel lanes throughout the corridor, and that would help allow us create these 5-foot bike lanes on the side of the road. We also like the 10-foot travel lanes for a number of reasons. They further delineate the travel lanes, provide drivers with something to tie down on the roadway. Most of these roadways are, again, within 25-mile speed limit zones or within school zones. And typically 10-foot travel lanes have been shown to help reduce speeds within our communities and on our roadways. And it's just that we'll provide generally a more consistent cross section on our roadways throughout the city. With the plans, there's one exception, the area of Fort Point Street between Seaview Avenue and Van Zandt Street. We propose to restripe that entire section to 10-foot travel lanes today. It'll tie into what exists on Fort Point Street to the south and west as you cross the Norwalk River, and it'll tie into bike lanes on those roadways. It'll also provide a more consistent cross section And also in that cross section, we're proposing to move a bus stop closer to Seaview Avenue to add a couple parking spaces for the community, because we've had discussions with some of the business owners on that street, and they necessitated the need for more parking. So that's also being worked into the final designs for the plan. But we're here before you today for your approval of these plans so we can proceed through the final design and get these plans up to CONDOT. I know Nancy has been waiting quite a while on these plans.
Any questions from the commission?
Well, I guess I'm just not sure how the lanes would get any more narrow. Like I live on Ponus Avenue, so I don't see that there's room to even add something like that there. How does that, I mean, how does that work when you do on a narrow road like that? And a road that's already narrow and windy, you know?
Yeah, so we actually went through the entire network on the plans, and we took cross-sectional measurements, just hundreds of them along the whole corridor. But a lot of the travel lanes are 11 feet wide, and what we're proposing is 10 feet, which, for example, there's 10-foot travel lanes on a lot of the corridor and a lot of these roadways, and that extra foot would get us shoulders that are that accommodate bike lanes, whether they're 4 feet in some sections for very short sections, or up to 5 feet. But there's 10-foot travel lanes in row 8, and on this section, we have 10-foot travel lanes on East Avenue on the approaches. But it's really just about accommodating and adding a foot, sometimes even just 12 inches to get that true length for a bike lane and a shoulder.
So it's a foot on each side of the road or on one side of the road?
So it'll actually be able to come on the sections on those roads proposed. We'd be able to accommodate a bi-directional bike lane, one north and south.
And what are you, I'm not clear what you're saying about 5 feet. You're saying in some places 5 feet, like a 5 foot wide bike lane?
Yeah, in many sections of the route, we'll be able to get a 10-foot travel lane north and south, and then a 5-foot bike lane north and south, just through simply just restriping the roadway or adding a shoulder line where necessary, where they don't exist today. The lanes are actually rather wide today, so we just be striping them to something that's more standard throughout the route.
Commissioner, the cross section of the road is largely about 30 feet today. So we would be, a 5-foot bike lane, 10-foot travel lane, 10-foot travel lane, 5-foot bike lane. It's delineated with paint that will also act as this visual barrier and also a visual guide, particularly in this area that is absent of a lot of street lamps. So night driving can be a little bit more challenging. This helps you navigate the road a little bit better. And there have been a number of studies that have shown that 10-foot travel lanes help you reduce speed in reality slightly, but also, give you the place of where you're going to go. So it's not like we're taking any of the pavement away. We're just reallocating the pavement that's there.
Yeah, no, I understand that. It just doesn't, the road just doesn't seem that wide to me. I mean, I go up and down it every day and it just doesn't, I mean, it's definitely not one of the city's most narrow roads, but it just seems to me like it's like that's a lot. And that's going up the entire road, like on all the roads that you mentioned in this area, Fox Run, Nursery, Ponus, it's the whole length of the road.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I also believe that, didn't we, and I get meetings mixed up, we hear so many of them, didn't we vote to change the standard to 10-foot lanes as opposed to 12 or 11 or something?
Through DPW, yes. Yep.
Yeah,
Mayor,
yeah.
that just occurred in DPW. That was last week. So yes,
Yes.
and that was highlighted in the Nancy on Norwalk article.
Yeah, and one of the comments I made at that particular time was the narrower lanes tend to be a visual road calming measure, where people tend to drive more slowly when they see the lanes narrower.
Yeah.
And we've done it on Water Street
Mhm.
and a few other streets with, I think, Belden Avenue, parts of Belden Avenue. And there was always concern about buses and trucks and things, but we've had no issues whatsoever. And many places are going to the 10-foot wide lanes. So I think it's something that, it's going to have a positive impact.
Mhm. I don't see a lot of people biking around here. It's the other kind of thing, but maybe they don't because there's no bike lanes. I don't know.
I think
We build it and they will come.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're-
a lot of people walk in this area, but I don't see people bicycling at all, actually.
Well, the good thing about the delineation of the lanes in these shared environments, it does give a little bit of a space for a pedestrian to use as a place to walk until we can actually get a sidewalk in place.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Chief or deputy chiefs? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Next one is item 8, approve the temporary closure of 3 parking spaces on North Main Street in front of 15 North Main Street for outdoor dining, subject to receiving all additional required approvals. Can we have a motion to move that?
I'll move the item.
The item's been moved. I have a question. One of the things, when this was kind of brought to my attention, that we were going to look into this, I wanted to make sure that businesses in the area were notified and able to have an opportunity to express their concerns relative to taking away parking from some of the places. I'm more or less thinking of places like Famous Pizza and so forth, that the 3 parking spaces are relatively valuable to them. So have we spoken to them?
So I've spoken to a number of the businesses as we walked. I think one of the things that will come to the parking authority with and to the traffic authority is what they've asked for is a better way to identify spaces that can be used for pickup and drop off. So we're running through a couple of different ideas for them right now, and having some internal conversations about what that approach is. But largely, that's what we're hearing is that their business model has changed, and having spaces that could be more available for pickup and drop off. So we're working at addressing that, and we'll be getting back with them.
Okay, the other thing is, you said subject to other approvals. You're talking about the dining permit approval that we would have to go through and all that. Is that?
Well, the last city department to have the approval before we put forth this was DPW. DPW today issued their approval onto this, so we have all city approvals at this point.
All right.
We just didn't have it by the time we did this. That's why we just
Yeah.
noted that.
All right. Now, as long as the other businesses are in agreement and have no issue with this, we're always trying to create a more vibrant downtown and getting people eating out on the streets, with the tables and everything. It's certainly creating that environment. So any discussions, any questions, Commissioner?
No, you asked the right questions. I had the same concerns about a lot of businesses down there to be like in and out type of businesses, where people will just be stopping in and grab something quick or pick up some, takeout, or I think there's like a variety store or something there. So, yeah, I mean, if that's being addressed, then I'm comfortable with that.
And one of the things, I was going to mention it when we talked about removing the signs on Washington Street, but I forgot. This past weekend, I was up and down Washington Street numerous times, and I saw a gentleman park alongside of the barrier, cars behind him, cars in both directions, so nobody could get around him. And he just waved to the people and walked on, and he was gone because I was stuck behind an Amazon truck that was parked in the westbound lane. He was in the eastbound lane. So the whole thing was backed up. I think what we need to do is try to find a way to enhance enforcement so that people, they just seem to stop next to those barriers, get out of their car and go pick up food instead of using the spots on the other side or going behind the buildings, more to make it convenient for them rather than and inconvenience everybody else. And so I think we really need to take a look at that and see how what we can do to to enhance that area so that they don't do that much. I know it's a challenge.
Certainly, I'll have a conversation with the assistant chief and see what we can do from an enforcement perspective. I can tell you that one of the concerns I've had was a little bit of wayfinding, actually visually finding where the parking is available. I think it's lacking. So I've been actually working with Snyder Group to identify a logo to actually get us to these parking facilities in a much more efficient manner. So I just don't think it's intuitive for the average person who's not familiar with the area to find that space, and we're working on that.
Yeah, I mean, I sometimes I shake my head because there's never a time that I would stop and inconvenience 15 cars behind me so I could
Right.
go pick up a lunch to take home or whatever. But unfortunately, we do have people that do that.
And I'll also reach out to the business as well to let them know the people who are coming for pickup for them to direct where they can find parking.
Yeah, we've got to try to do something. So, okay. Any other questions or concerns? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item number 9. Concur with the assessment by SLR that the Pinnacle mixed-use development at 467 West Avenue, 17 Butler Street and 3 Quincy Street will have no substantial impact to the state highway system contingent on ConnDOT's agreement. Who's going to address that?
Mike?
Yes, we also have the consultants available as attendees. That's Neil Olinsky and Fiona Flynn. I don't know if you can move them over, Jeff, to speak on this, or?
Yeah, no problem. I'll bring Neil Olinsky in. Are there more that I should be bringing in, Mike?
And Fiona.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. So I could, can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. So I can speak briefly on this. This is the development that is located on West Avenue, roughly taking up most of the block between Orchard, Quincy, and Butler Streets.
Mhm.
We are in front of the Office of State Traffic Administration for actually a revision of an OSTA approval we got a few years back. The current site plan got its zoning approval a couple months back, and it's actually slightly less, a little bit less intense than what was approved 3 years ago. So that's what we're in front of, and really the OSTA is concerned with their state roadways. So we're looking to get the local traffic authorities' concurrence that we're not impacting, or this development's not going to be impacting any of the state roadways.
It certainly is a lot different than the one we dealt with a couple of months ago.
Mhm.
The question I have as I was looking through it is that, and I'm trying to think if because they've changed the components of the development significantly, and they've increased the square footage by 70,000 or 75,000. And yet the traffic in all categories goes down.
Yeah, no, it's interesting how that would work out. The reason specifically is because they got rid of the theater, and I think a fitness center that were proposed in the site plan development a few years back. They took those out, but they increased the residential a bit. And the way it all shakes out when you look at the statistical trip generation estimates, when you get rid of that the theater and the fitness center, you would estimate that there'd be less traffic compared to what it was previously proposed. The theaters based on the stats, the trip stats, just generate a lot of traffic at fitness centers as well. And those are gone from this current one.
I'm sorry, can we have a motion to move this forward?
I'll move the item.
All right. Are there any questions or concerns of the commission?
Well, I'm just gonna state my same concern that I do every time these things come up. I mean, for one, I don't think that I'm qualified with the information that I'm provided to make this kind of decision, you know, and in most of these cases, you know, I say the same thing. Of course, there's going to be an impact on the roads. I mean, you know, 63 residential units. I mean, that's and the retail and the restaurant. I mean, even taking the gym and the theater out. I mean, I'm very much in favor of, especially the retail and restaurant components of it. It's not that I don't like the project, but I just don't. I think it would be unrealistic to say that there won't be any impact on the roads. Of course, there. Like if you put something there, there's going to be, like who just said, like if you build it, they'll come. You know. So I mean, the same thing applies here. So I mean, I don't really understand, and maybe it's just, you know, maybe I just need somebody to better explain to me why we get these things in the first place and how we're supposed to make these kind of recommendations.
It's a requirement of conduct, I believe, for us to look at that. And I think the key word here is substantial impact. So it's not saying it's not going to have any impact. I think we all know that cars will be on Route 1, cars will be coming on I-95, but is the impact going to be substantial? So I think that's where the issue is.
And is there, in any of these cases, like, I don't ever see that an independent traffic report is done. I mean, maybe there is, and I just didn't see it, but I mean, they always seem to say the same thing, that there's not really gonna be any difference, you know?
Well, I've noticed that myself in the past. If you hire a traffic director or traffic analysis, you know.
For what, you know, for what it's worth, we had gone through all the proper methodology. I think a lot of that stuff is on file with the zoning office. But looking back at our traffic study, it's not a state road, but we had looked at or identified the possibility to adjust some signal timings at, I believe, the intersection of Butler and West Avenue. That would help make traffic flow a little better adjacent to the site. So, you know, sometimes these reports come out with no findings of any need for impact, but we did come up with that minor mitigation that the city may wish to do. It's not terribly relevant to this because that I don't believe that's a state road at that point, and those signals are, I think, city signals as well. So sort of related, but not specifically relevant to this Condot OSTA request that we're asking for.
Yeah, so in my brief stint I did on zoning, I remember we had third parties review some of these things, and I think traffic was one of the big things that they reviewed. I don't remember the details, if it was on every project, or if it was on select projects, if the projects had to meet some certain threshold of size in order for the third party to step in. But I do remember there was, you know, that independent sort of review. And is that something that, you know, has gone on here, or is that something that still takes place, or does anybody have any information on that?
I think the difference here, Commissioner, is that this is a reduction in the scope of the project and turning it more into apartments than the commercial theater and fitness center, which generates more traffic. So when the project was originally reviewed, it was sufficient. So I didn't see a need for a third-party study on this one.
Oh, okay.
And to
Okay, so
further,
if we're talking about comparing this to the initial one, then yes, I would agree that there's less impact.
and to further address Commissioner Stranidi's concern, has this been approved by the zoning commission yet, or are they still going through their approval process?
It has been approved, yes. It was approved, I think, on January 11th.
And the zoning commission looked at the traffic pattern and they were comfortable with it?
That came up, yep, and we were in front of the board with, Redis and me, the site civil engineer. So that the whole process was completed through zoning. They got their zoning commission approval, yes.
And basically, we're saying simply that this project won't have a substantial or significant impact on the local, on the state highway system.
Correct, yep. And we're required through the Condot procedures to come before you for this request. Yeah. Yep. I don't know why it works out this way. If I had my druthers, the traffic authority would be looking at this earlier on rather than sort of after the fact.
Right.
But it's above my pay grade why they do that like that. As they say.
Any further questions or discussion?
That's it for me.
I'm sorry?
That's it for me.
Okay. So all in favor of the request to send a letter to the state to Conduct indicating that there would be no substantial, that we agree that there'll be no substantial, or the assessment will have no substantial impact on the state highway system. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next one is approve the traffic detour plan for Woodward Avenue in conjunction with the concrete curb and sidewalk replacement project. Commissioner Sternidi, would you move that?
I will move the item, sure.
You'll be doing it at the police commission meeting too, so.
Yeah.
Who's going to present this?
Hello, Mayor. My name's Daniel Stanton. I'm your new senior civil engineer, so pleasure to meet you and commission members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to this. Would I need to share my screen with the detour map, or is that something all of you have in front of you and understand what we're proposing?
Yeah, I believe we have, I've got to dig through it. There's a lot of paperwork. I think we killed a lot of trees with this.
I only killed one, so hopefully, and we planted another. So let's balance that out from engineering. So
I don't see it in my packet. It may be here.
I will share my
I see
screen.
a memo on it. Oh, wait. Nope, that's the other one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the participants cannot screen share. So if that's something, Mike, on your end, you guys can
Oh,
do.
wait, hold on. Try again.
Is that something you can share from your end, the detour plan?
I enabled the.
Oh, okay, thank you. All right, appreciate that. All right. So we're going to share. I'm just going to move it over to more of a full screen if you bear with me for a second, and hopefully we can see that. So on the screen is the proposed Woodward Avenue detour plan. This is for our concrete curb and sidewalk program in preparation for the road reconstruction this summer. We had this proposed by Grasso Construction, that is our awarded contractor for that project. And we are proposing that an officer be placed at Concord Street to detour the southbound traffic on Route 136, which is maintained and controlled by the city of Norwalk, to flow that traffic over to South Main Street and come back out at Meadow Street. During the construction day, the section of Woodward Avenue from Burritt, which is located at the upper right of the screen here where my cursor is, down to Meadow Street will be one-way northbound only. And the businesses and residences internal to that area would be controlled by traffic persons within that work zone. So the orange region is the work zone from Burritt at the north back to Meadow Street. And the detour in magenta is what we expect southbound traffic to utilize during this period of time, which will be about 6 weeks of construction. Are there any questions from the commission or mayor?
Were the residents all notified and given ample warning that this is going to happen so they can prepare?
They were given notices at the end of last week, Mayor, and with anticipated wait on the actual approval before Grasso would begin construction.
Commissioner Sternidi?
Well, I found the,
Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
mine was the bike lane.
it was out of order, that's why it got mixed in with the sidewalks, yeah.
I think mine got mixed in with the bike lane plan. So let
Yeah,
me take
yeah, that's what I mean, the bike lanes, yeah.
If you need to zoom in on anything, anyone else, just let me know. I can do that.
Okay, I don't have any questions.
Deputy Chief Walsh, I know that you have indicated a potential issue with morning traffic.
Yes, the last time, I do believe, I forget the construction company, was last summer. They did it in front of Rex Marine for the new condos there. All along it, we had major backups in the morning because people use 136 as a commuting spot to sort of like divert from 13 to 16 to beat around a lot of the traffic. So we had a lot of traffic concerns there in the morning. Especially with the detours that the officers were implementing.
And
So
what
just
did
looking
they
at this
find
plan,
was-
it's similar to what occurred last year, and we had there was a lot of issues with it.
Is there any way that could be addressed in this case so that we don't run into the same problem? Like maybe the construction times varying a little bit or something? Was that looked at?
We had proposed conventional time during this construction so that they could meet the productivity goals. This is a zone of the city where we're putting in granite curbing. So there is a fair amount of precision required to lay that. And we felt that the northbound traffic volume, throughout the day was better served by northbound only, and then the southbound traffic, instead of weaving traffic at the intersection and having control at the ends of the work zone or beyond the work zone, so at Concord or Meadow, that if southbound traffic was allowed to continue, northbound traffic would effectively have to cross in both of those instances. Deputy Chief, what worked last summer? Forgive me for just starting, and maybe what ultimately occurred that relieved that pressure.
To tell you the truth, last year, I think it was a combination of gas work and then water main work. It lasted for several months, and more or less, I think the motorists more or less had to deal with it. We couldn't, because when you think about, you're having them turn up Concord Street, and then they're going to be taking a left-hand turn, and that's a tight intersection. It's also governed by a light, and we had a lot of concerns very similar to that. I'm just looking at the map here, and but we had a lot of morning where people were actually calling and complaining about the traffic backups, and there wasn't much for us to do because we were just putting them into other spots. It's just a congested area.
Right.
So how long is the area where the yellow area is where they're going to be installing the sidewalks, correct?
Yes.
And they're going to be doing just one side
They will be performing that work on both sides of the street, Mayor.
at the same time, or?
No, we prohibited them from doing that very specifically over in the project notes. So we expect them to work on one side of the street, and then that the northbound traffic and parking would be maintained during the working day, and then return to normal at night.
And when do they anticipate starting the work?
So they're ready to begin as soon as they move off of Second Street where they are currently, and they are waiting on this approval to begin this work. They may be able to free up a crew as early as this week if we feel that's prudent, and sending this notice to Josh to communicate further with the public once we have an approved plan.
So you're also saying that it's not really possible for that section of Woodward Avenue to alternate north and southbound traffic, so that if you have one person down in the area of C and one person in the area of K, allowing traffic to move through alternately, that's not workable.
So due to the truck traffic in that area, so not only do you have city carting, down here, you do have, is it FedEx that's over on the other street up of Quintard in that area?
Maybe WB Mason.
WB Mason, excuse me. So what we found was the width of this roadway is 28 feet interior to the curbs. So there currently is a parking lane on the west side of Woodward. And to both maintain parking, there's limited parking for the businesses there. There's limited parking for the residences there. We felt that the one-way traffic versus with the detour was the best approach for traffic, given the volume at this location. That there simply was not enough room to work safely, in that range and close off the parking to kind of balance the community needs.
Yeah, I mean, it is a very highly traveled area with people going down that. I mean, I would hope that if it's too inconvenient, that people would find an alternate route to get to where they want to go eventually. But, and then you said this is going to be about 6 weeks?
Correct. Yes.
Deputy Chief Walsh, do you have any other comments or thoughts?
Maybe we could put out some form of messaging. Maybe people could go up Martin Luther King Drive that are normally commuting that way, and then divert it that way, then going all the way down there and getting caught in that bottleneck. That's the only thing that I think more or less people had to adjust their traveling due to the construction last summer and the summer before that. There really wasn't much that we could do. I think people adjusted and had to live with it. There's not much suggestions besides having people go up Martin Luther King, because South Main Street will also be a bottleneck also.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it's been very difficult on the residents of Woodward Avenue over the last time that they were doing the work, and I did get a lot of complaints about the traffic and the safety of it and all those things. But if there's, we can tentatively approve it, I imagine, and then maybe if you can meet with Deputy Chief Walsh and see if we can't loosen it up a bit with some other signage and things, I think that would probably be how we would have to move. I know the sidewalks on Woodward Avenue are horrible and they need to be replaced. And it's critically important that we do that. It's been way too long. And so as I absolutely support it, but I'm also, I have the same concerns that Deputy Chief Walsh has. So maybe Deputy Chief Walsh, if you can meet to try to figure out, in addition to this traffic plan, what we might be able to do to help divert some of the traffic in other directions.
Okay, will do. And I'll just make one suggestion. I think that traffic light, when you're going westbound on Concord Street onto South Main, if you're gonna take the left-hand turn there, that's a long light. I think we may need to look at when you're waiting there on Concord Street on the South Main, that's a
Yeah.
for some reason, there's a lot of, you have Woodward Avenue, you have South Main. So that's a long light. So if people are gonna be stuck there, we're gonna get back upstairs. We may have to look at the timing of that light also.
Yeah.
So Dan, why don't you see me on that one, and we could work at the chief's suggestion to look and see what we could do for the signal, the signalization and what type of detection that signal is giving. So see me and we'll work on that one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Both.
Okay. All right, if there's no further discussion or questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Now the next meeting is, hold on a minute. Got all my paperwork scattered all over here. So the next meeting is the third Monday in May, I believe. A motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. And now we will get ready for the police commission meeting.
See you then.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.